Hello, my name is Alan, and this afternoon in my time, I am facilitating the first of 4 sessions of AGON. AGON is a game, let me just pull up my bits of paper. AGON is a game designed by John Harper and Sean Nittner and published by Evil Hat. In its original form, it is inspired by the Iliad or the Odyssey, a tale of Greek heroes returning trying to return home and encountering all manner of mythic threats and situations en route. In this game, I have lightly reskinned the game to play a game of heroes traveling through the Celtic Otherworld of the Dark Ages. I suppose the Otherworld is pre-Dark Age. The concept of this game, and I'll read this from the front of the book. In the mists of ancient time, a storyteller sings of great deeds wrought by mighty heroes, of monsters slain and justice restored, of wise counsel and devious strategies, of courage, valor, and daring, defiant of the gods themselves. In AGON, you create these heroes, crafting their epic tale into an immortal legend. The thing about this is that it's a very structured game, as that will become apparent as we play. And I've talked to the players something about that. They're going to help me with this first time I've run it. They'll be very patient, I know. This game is organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly games calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, I would certainly ask that you look us up by searching Gauntlet-RPG. You'll find a fabulous online role-playing community playing all kinds of games, mostly at the narrative indie story game end of the spectrum, but also some more trad and what's the phrase, tradindie games. As well as the gaming calendar, we have a range of podcasts, the Codex zine, and if you like what we do and want to support us, then we'd welcome you joining our Patreon. That Patreon pays for all of that, and at a certain level in the Patreon, it will grant you some priority in getting into games like these. So, you know, go and seek us out. If you're not certain that we're for you, then we do have, on a seasonal basis, a Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend where you can come and try us for free, so to speak. The next one is on the, and I'm just going to look up the date. I think it's
the 15th to 18th October is the Gauntlet Con, and it's been rolled into one with the online con with the quarterly gaming, open gaming night.
Thank you, Sabine. So if you would like to give us a try, do look for that. You'll find links on the website. And I think that the access to those games goes live, I think, on the 1st of October. So just check us out. So that's who we are. This is a game then about heroes. And so characters should be big. I don't really expect to encounter really dark themes, but it's always possible. The characters should be big and legendary and mythic in the way they come across. They're kind of street level superheroes, if I was looking for some kind of analogy. Just in case we do come across any material that makes us uncomfortable, we will be playing with some safety rules. The kind of principal break on play is the X card, and I'd say to the players, I'm not very good at monitoring the chat when I play, so please make the X, or if somebody does type X card into the chat and I don't notice it, but one of the other players does, please draw my attention to it. It's not that I'm ignoring it, it's just that I tend not to read the chat as we play. I won't ask you why you've played the X card, but I might ask you how back you want me to rewind in the fiction, so then we can play forward, hopefully avoiding any narrative material that you found uncomfortable. And if we come across something and you think, I'm okay, I think, with that, and we play on. But then if it comes up again and you're not comfortable the second time, please don't hesitate to play the X card. Just because you didn't play it the first time doesn't mean you can never play it. Play it when you need to play it when you want to play it, and we'll respond appropriately. We're also playing with an open door. The world goes on in real life away from these screens, and if stuff comes up and one of the players needs to walk away, that's fine. You know, we hope you'll come back, or let us know if you're going to come back or not. But I know stuff can happen, and if you have to go away, you have to go away. And I'd also say the open door is there because If this turns out not to be quite the game you thought it was going to be, do not stay and play a game you don't enjoy. You know, the open door is there for a reason. We'll be playing within the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. It's a fabulous document. It's a living document. I increasingly use it with groups I play with outside the Gauntlet because it's just a really good set of ground rules about table culture, because we are all here to enjoy ourselves, you know. I sometimes summarize it as saying, don't be a dick, but it's a really sophisticated and subtle document, and I would recommend it to you. It's linked to the website. And the last safety tool we're going to be using are lines and veils. And the players will be able to access a tab. There are some lines and veils there. I would ask them to add anything to that. Currently, we're playing with lines on sexual assault and violence and harm to children, peril to pregnant women and infants. Infection, plague is a major plot point. Frankly, I just don't want to play games about that at the minute. Or torture by the player characters. They are heroes after all. Those are things that won't crop up in the fiction. If any of us begin to sail close to that, I invite the table to you know, play the X card, and we can just, you know, rewind and make sure that we're not getting too close to stuff we don't want to have in the game. Veils are those things which may appear in the fiction, but we will draw a curtain across them. And currently, as I look down the tab, we're dealing with veils on harm to animals, consensual sex, domestic violence, torture by NPCs, and cannibalism. Again, some of those could come up, I don't know, but we'll be veiling them. They may happen, but they'll happen off screen. And then we have a couple of other possibilities. One is ask first. Now, I'll just say this to the players. I've asked first. I put ask first down as betrayal between PCs and violent conflict between PCs. This is a game that is about heroes competing to be the greatest hero. You will all be working to overcome the various obstacles that the other world throws at you. But there is also built into the game a process where you will inevitably end up competing for glory, the game's equivalent to experience points. So I put that there, not because I expect you to ask first about that, but as an aid memoir to me to make sure I mentioned that about the game. We also currently have an ask first on suicide and romance with PCs or NPCs. There's also a column called interested, and if anyone has some particular things that they would like to come up, if you put it in there, I'll do my best. Given the structure of the game, I may struggle a bit to build something in at one session's notice, but I will endeavor to meet that across the series. So that's our introduction. As I say, my name is Alan. I use he, him pronouns. And if I can just go across the character keeper and ask the players to introduce themselves, not at this point to introduce their characters. We'll do that in media res, so to speak. Let me start by saying, hello, Will. Say hello.
Hi, Alan. Hi, I'm Will. My pronouns are he, him.
And feel free to tell us anything else about yourself that you want to, or not. Sabine.
Hi, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns, and no, nothing comes to mind right now.
That's fine. Keith.
Keith, I use he, him pronouns, gamer, educator, and designer in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And finally, Sawyer.
Sawyer, also known as Ferret, run a small company called Fairtime Games, which last month released 2 Monster Hearts 2 skins and 2 new playbooks and setting elements for the Belonging Outside Belonging game of Haven. Play witches in a safe community.
Well, who could resist that one? No, Fairtime Games is a fabulous range of stuff. Please do check it out. Okay, so let us begin. There is a battle. We open on a battle. The battle is already ongoing. This is the final battle in a campaign being waged in the real world in the early 600 CE. Whether you could define one side as good and one side as evil, I doubt very much. But you are all fighting. All of the characters that we'll be playing with in this series are fighting on the same side. And so what I want to do is as the camera sweeps across the battlefield, shield walls have clashed, It has broken up from that shield wall. Think Vikings, think the Last Kingdom. The shield walls are broken up. It's broken down now into individual fights between, our characters. What I want to do is to give each of you in turn a chance to describe your character and just give us a feel for that character and what makes them the hero that the Celtic gods are going to choose. Let me again do this in the order of the character keeper. Let me start, Will, with you. Tell us about Blacwyn and what we see in this opening scene.
Blacwyn is a big, muscly guy with who is wearing piecemeal armor and wields a battle axe in one hand and a rough chopped shield in another. And the hand that's holding the axe is quite striking because as it catches the light, it is silver, a fabled gift from a Celtic god in times past. And he's methodical, in the middle of this battle. He is just a machine of just solid, just murder, basically.
Foes fall back before him. When they can't fall back before him, they fall under his axe. Okay. Sabine, what do we see of Iamon at this point?
Iamon is not as tall or as broad as Blacwyn. He's more of a wiry, athletic person. He doesn't wear armor, hasn't had time to find any. He has an axe as well. Iamon is a pretty precise guy. He goes for the leaders of the other army. He will also yell at other people to go where they should be in this fight to kind of control the flow of battle, but he is always at the front of all this.
And if he survives this, he may well become a king, but that's in a different game. Keith, tell us about Cuxsusia.
Cuxsusia is long and lithe and very feral looking in her movements, covered with tattoos and her battle paint. She favors light armor and weapons, wearing leather, just has a dagger. And as we see her fighting off two foes that are much better armored and armed than she is, it's as if she can anticipate their moves coming and makes them look foolish as they lunge too far forward, placing their weight where it shouldn't, and their momentum carries them right into the blade that seems to have found the tiniest spacing between the armor, as she then whirls about with her wide stance and looks for someone else to challenge her with sparkling eyes.
And I have a terrible suspicion that faced with that, a lot of people fall back and move the other way. Finally, Ferret, tell us about Vecinda.
I believe it starts off with this retinue of young soldiers, not children, but just their first battle, and one of them falling under this blade, hitting their shield over and over again. And this gauntleted hand grabs the sword hand before it can come down again. And he turns around and sees this beautiful woman in piecemeal armor, smiling tenderly at him as the club crashes into his face. She pulls the enemy down, throwing him so he can have his last moments, offering her hand up to the young soldier and getting his shield in return for her effort of valor for her kinsman.
Oh, what a bunch of heroes. And so as the camera sweeps across, picking out each of you in turn, a mist begins to thicken across the battlefield. And we see now shapes in the mist. The clash, the noise, blood spatters through the mist. But then it becomes so thick that each of you can barely see your hand in front of your face. And as the mist thickens, the din of battle likewise dims and thins. And finally, it is completely silent. And as you whirl about, look about through the mist, there is no foe. And then you hear in the distance a drumbeat. Dum, 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 In the absence of anything else, I'm going to suggest that you move towards the drumbeat.
Yeah, weapons, you know, like that sort of cautiously moving through the mists.
He's changing the eggs for the bow, but otherwise, yeah.
Cuxsusia, Vecinda, do you go to the drum?
Yeah, Vecinda's strapping the shield onto that gauntlet she has, like her only like real sign of armor, and readying her club again.
Yeah, that's definitely a sign.
Truly, it is a sign. And you find yourself walking slightly uphill. Still no sound of battle around you, but through the mist you can see some other figures converging on the drumbeat. And out of the gloom, out of the mist, you see a silhouette of a figure, and he has a large drum that he is a skin drum about so wide, Celtic skin drum that he and you and perhaps a dozen other warriors have been drawn to this drumbeat. And as you get closer, the mist thins slightly, and you recognize the person playing the drum. His name is Ventusius, and he is the premier bard, skald, storyteller of the age. You didn't know he was at the battle, but you have heard of him and you have seen him perform in lords' halls across the nation, across the country. And he looks around you and says, "You, my friends, have been chosen. You have come to the Otherworld. Some of you might think that that is a place of demons, but it is a place of gods. You have been chosen because of your talent, because of your characteristics, because of your valor, because of your wisdom. And now I will introduce you to those who have chosen you. Come with me." And he goes down the other side of this low mound towards a ring of standing stones. And he gestures for you and the other dozen or so warriors that have been drawn to his drum. He leads you inside the stone circle. And you can see that there have been marked on each of the pillars of this stone circle, each of the stones, a carved outline of one of the old Celtic gods. He says, "They have chosen you, and 4 of them have chosen 4 of you as the leaders of this warband." Let me go back round. Blacwyn, which patron Celtic god has chosen you?
That is Cernunnos, the god of the wild, who I did a boon for, and whose hand the hand I have now is a gift from him. It's not a particularly healthy relationship, just to be clear.
And behind that stone, you see the silhouette of an antler-horned god. Iamon, which god makes themselves known to you?
Well, for me, it is Arianrod, who is a Celtic once virginal mother god, moon goddess, who armed her son with the most accurate weapons.
And you see a tall, statuesque woman with almost emitting a silver light, with a bow across her shoulders. Cuxsusia, which god makes themselves known to you as your patron?
She had always thought that it would be such, and it is with a feeling of self-satisfaction that it is the Morrigan, the domain of cunning, goddess of victory by any means, who has chosen her via the ravens, the bird of slaughter.
And that is what you see behind, perched around and on that stone marked with the Morrigan, is a group of ravens. And as they take flight and swirl about, they almost seem to take the shape of a hooded woman. Her her face hidden in a deep cowl. And finally, Vecinda, who has chosen you?
The only goddess who can stand my constant prayers and stream of gossip. The goddess of the hearth and the home, Modron.
And there you see, she gives off a light, almost like a flickering light of a warm and comforting hearth. But it is an unyielding hearth. It is a hearth that will be defended against all comers. And as you have been chosen, you have been drawn to the center of the circle, and the other 12 warriors are still with you. And Ventusia says, you will lead this warband. There is a conflict in the other world. You have been chosen because you have no stake in this. The gods do not trust one another, but they have agreed that they will agree to the outcomes that you make in the other world. They don't know which one of them is betraying the others. They don't know whether it is the other powers of earth and water and fire and sky who lived before them. They do not know if those great powers are seeking to establish their hegemony over the other world. But what I will say to each of you is that whatever you do will decide the fate of mortals, those you know and love and value and honor. Their fates will be decided by what you do. I cannot promise the gods will not interfere, for they will all be watching. Now, go and find your destiny. And Ventusius disappears in a wisp of fog. And the gods back away from the stones. And you are standing in a stone circle on a misty plain, surrounded by simply some stones. What do you do? Let me start with Vecinda.
I do what comes naturally and make sure that, since I know I am okay, are the others emotionally handling this as well? I'll just like step in front of all three. Do you understand? Are you well during this time?
I just hope it doesn't mean we're dead.
Perhaps just for a time. It should be interesting to try it.
I don't find it very interesting to be dead or divorced from my world, but well, I'll do what I must to get back to her, to get back to my wife and child.
Blackwyn just grunts and sort of just solemnly nods that they get back to your wife and child. And hefts his axe and his shield.
So that is how the other three heroes respond. The dozen warriors that came here and weren't chosen are clearly worried. They are frightened. They are nervous. There is the call of wolves out there in the mist. This game has in each session a phase called leadership. And in this phase, a generic challenge is presented to the characters. And the person who succeeds best at that challenge is the one who will take on the leadership of this warband of heroes for this session. So let me start again with, let me go to, Let me start this time with Cuxsusia. The men and women of the warband are nervous. Some are frightened. There is muttering of where are we? What's happened? What about those wolves? What does Cuxsusia do to calm the warband or to remove any threat it might feel?
I think it's almost the opposite of calming them down. Just she's flipping her dagger in her hand kind of unthinkingly, and says, "You seem nervous. Does standing still relieve these feelings for you? If you do not like where you found yourself, it's time to get moving. It seems like a circle is the only shape that you're forming. Let us begin."
I've rolled a couple of dice to determine what is the strife level, what is the challenge that this presents, and the challenge it presents is merely 4. Now, let me use Cuxsusia as an illustrative bit of mechanics then. So that sounded like a bit of oration to raise their spirits. Was that fair? Okay. So the way that you take part in one of these contests is you say your name, you say your epithet, and you say which domain you are activating. And then you will roll that pool of dice, your name, epithet, and the chosen domain. Yeah? So Cuxsusia, do that.
Cuxsusia the Far-Sighted utilizes arts and oration.
And therefore rolls 2d6 and a d8.
I'm glad you mentioned because I remember the words, but let's see what the dice are. All right, 2 4s and a 6.
The way this works is that you always choose the top 2 dice. Yeah, so no matter how many dice you roll, routinely, only the top 2 count. So that is a 6 and a 4, so that's 10 against a challenge of 4. Now the question is, you in the words of the game, you have prevailed, and this calms them down. The question is, do you prevail better or worse than the other characters? So let me move along to Iamon. What does Iamon do, given the nervousness of the warband?
I mean, I think Cuxsusia has a good idea. So I will start out towards the wolves howling, and I will tell these, I imagine I've known some of them at least a bit, and I will address one of them and say, come on, name, Icenius, we can take these wolves. You've seen me do that.
Take part in a contest, give your name, your epithet, and tell me which domain you believe that has brought into play.
I think, no. Iamon, the Monster-Hunter, is using Resolve and Spirit, I think.
I think that sounds like you're trying to build Icenius's resolve.
Yeah.
So that is 2d6 and a d8.
Okay, cool. So
I'll always assume that it's the 2d6 on the left, going left to right.
okay, I'll just use those I've dragged out here because. Okay, so I've got a 9.
So you also prevail, but not with quite the bravado that Cuxsusia does. What about Blacwyn?
Blacwyn, the Silver-Handed, bangs his axe against his shield and calls out to the nervous men, "It's time for blood and valor, men," and rallies them to lead them into combat against the coming threat.
That sounds a little bit like arts and oration.
Hey, sure.
Unless you want to charge out there and bring them back a wolf's head.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be, if they're coming towards us, I think it's very much Blacwyn is striding to meet whatever threat might be coming towards the mists,
That's the kind of thing that would shift it to blood and valor, I think. You with me? So again, I think give me the recitation.
Blacwyn the Silver-Handed is leading the men with blood and valor by dealing with the threat head on.
2d6 and a d8.
Cool. Well, I will just roll those on the far right then. that's 2 5s.
So that's a 10. So that is that certainly bolsters them by the sound of it. And finally, Vecinda, what do you do?
The wolves are a family, but we are a stronger family, a proud family, a family of warriors and the blooded that were chosen by the gods. You are chosen as much as I, but I shall be the first in and will be glad to have you behind my back. So Vecinda, the Man-Tamer, is leading with craft and reason.
Yes, I think that she's made a rational argument. So so again, 2d6 and a d8.
Okay, let's do these far right. That is a 12.
My goodness me. So the way this works is that if you prevail in any contest, you will get at least half the challenge level as glory. If you are the most successful, you will get all of the challenge as glory. So in this example, Vecinda will get 4 glory, and the rest of you will get 2 each. You'll find the glory track up in the top left. It will recalculate some other stuff as time goes on. So what exactly do we see as a response then, Vecinda, as you prevailed most potently? What do we see that demonstrates how effective you've been?
I think like the family structure, like the archers stand back. Those with the long range weapons are like falling in at farthest behind. Those with the shields are up front to keep the wolves back from their charges. And like there's like a line of like the blunt weapons up behind, so the people with the sharp weapons up front can cleave with indiscriminate swipes, and those with the less lethal weapons can just keep things from going through to the archers.
When this unnaturally large horde of wolves sweep towards you, that is what they are confronted by. And they break against your shield wall and die on your arrows and disperse. So for this session, Vecinda is our leader. Vecinda has demonstrated her leadership. With that in mind, which way do you head, Vecinda?
Oh.
Uphill, downhill, towards the woodland, away from the woodland?
I think towards the woodland, from to keep the threat from heading back towards those who did not come with us.
Okay. And so Vecinda leads you and the rest of the warband into the woodland, which quickly develops into a forest. And as you begin to move through the forest, it goes up. The deciduous trees of this dense old forest gives way to conifers, and then it opens out into a blasted heath. And in the words of the game, as the mists recede, the gods reveal their desires through signs. The Morrigan displays a sign. You find a broken shield and a body with a raven picking its eyeballs. There, a little further away, is a huge stag, its antlers twisted to one side, pierced by arrows, crowned with arrows. And there, perhaps the pet of whoever that corpse was, is a small wicker cage in which a dove is beating its wings hopelessly. Now, in each place you visit, you will be granted signs. These signs are supposed to give you clues as to what may be lying ahead. So here, and I think I might even have put, I used the wrong name, but this place is called Misery. And I think I've copied those signs of the gods into that Misery tab. that is what you are granted as signs from the gods. How you interpret them is up to you. Whether they are meant to be helpful, whether they are portents of disaster, who knows? We will play to find out. But it seems to me this would be an excellent point to take our first break. So we are at 4 minutes to. Shall we have a decent break and say we'll be back in our seats at 5 past the hour? Okay, I will pause the recording as long as you remind me to restart it. I'll see you in less than 10. We're back from our break, and we have arrived at a barren, blasted plain called Misery. The characters have seen the signs of the gods, and this might be a good time to just, yes, there's a god to be careful about. This is probably a good time to just see how these characters feel about one another. Now, if you go down to the bonds part of the character sheet, you will see that I've put links in to the other characters. You may get bonds with other beings, people, gods, monsters, who knows, but you will always have the option to have bonds with one another. So if I go across to Blacwyn, you have 2 bonds to allocate. To which 2 other characters do you think Blacwyn feels some positive relationship?
I think Iamon and you know what? Let's go with Vecinda.
Fine. So you just put 1 in against each one of those. Let me move along to Iamon. Iamon, which 2 characters at this point do you feel you have some bond with? Bonds can be cashed in to get help from those characters. So you may want to be thinking about which ones do you think might be most useful to you.
I still think it would be Blacwyn. And I think I want the other one with Cuxsusia because she has these nice tattoos, which I kind of like.
Who knows how useful they may turn out to be.
Well, they look kind of Celtic, and I like that. So.
And Cuxsusia, which 2 characters do you feel you have a bond with, or cynically believe that you might want help from?
I think Iamon. I was impressed with his reaction when we ended up in this strange otherworld. And just the way Vecinda has acted is out of my realm of experience, and I feel like she's using some sort of power I don't understand. So I'm very intrigued by her. So I'm going to put her down as the second one.
And then finally, Vecinda, which 2 characters will you begin with a bond?
While she is she may not be far-sighted like Cuxsusia, but she will pick Cuxsusia for that. And she has seen that relying on the prowess of strangers or maybe friends can definitely help. So Blacwyn.
Fine. So there you are. You've seen these signs. There is this expansive heath in front of you. And as you make your way across the heathland, the mists clear slightly, and you can see high ground in the distance. And there appears to be an enormous tree. It almost certainly is an oak tree on this high ground, above this kind of escarpment almost, with a huge tree. And whatever light there is here is illuminating it and casting its shadow. So the long shadow of this oak tree stretches out towards you across this heathland. And as you approach the edge of that shadow, still perhaps several hundred yards away from it, you will see 2 camps. On one side, there is a camp. It's a warband of some description, bigger than yours. And similarly, about 100 paces away on the other side of the shadow is another encampment and another warband. To one side, you can see a high standard with a golden wolf mounted at the top of it. And from there, you can see a messenger running towards you. As the warband begins to form up beneath the standard of the wolf, and you can see that they have, it sounds a lot like what Vecinda described your reaction. There's a shield wall begins to form. Behind it, you can see people with javelins and people with slings beginning to line up. And this warrior runs up to Vecinda, who is at the lead of your warband, and says, "Our warmaster Gwyn, called Storm Rider, commands that we kill any who interfere in the negotiations. Soon," and he points to the other camp, "soon those pigs will free our king. Go, join us, or die." And at the same time, just as he's finishing, a messenger runs up from the other camp, where you can see that a hollow fabric tube in the shape of a serpent is now being is being filled by wind and writhing above a warband that is very different. You can see them mounting stocky ponies, and you see their chariots begin to demonstrate their lightness and maneuverability. And this messenger says, "Lies! Our Lady Ellis, daughter of the Four Winds, will prevail. Soon there," and he points to the other encampment, "soon their lands will be ours. Leave, join us, or we will ride you down." Vecinda, what's your reaction as the messengers leave?
Oh, wow.
What's that line? With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I think Vecinda motions for Cuxsusia to come over to her.
Well, this is a fascinating situation.
I may need your help to take a message to this Lady Ellis. As you and I should both know, speaking to women is the easy part. I believe I'll be the one needed to go speak to the other side.
And it's like Cuxsusia is sort of hanging on every word, like, what is Vecinda on about? This is very interesting. I want to play a part in whatever plan this is.
And she will, I think, it's like, I trust you're able to take care of yourself, but for whom you think would be best able to protect you or see you by your side, and she motions for Iamon and Blacwyn to come over as well.
Both warbands, I will tell you, are watching you intently. The way you react will determine what happens next.
And they've both given us the ultimatum: go away, join us, or we'll slaughter you.
Yeah.
They both seem to be on the same page about slaughtering us, so that's nice.
I believe if we split our forces, half on one side, half on the other, we can make them see reason. Or at least get by and then let them slaughter each other.
Blacwyn, I think I cut you off when you were about to say something.
No, I was just thinking they threatened us, so I think there's one solution here as far as Blackwyn's concerned, and it's the one that they haven't contemplated. They could die too. Perhaps we could ally with one of them just long enough to finish off whatever remains. But is there a reason why we shouldn't just leave as well?
I think the gods put this in our way to see how we deal with the situation. Just running away doesn't seem the right choice here. So we have to deal with this one way or the other. I mean, maybe, and this might be a wild suggestion, but maybe we can talk to them and figure out what's going on and try to broker peace.
And if that doesn't work, we can always kill them later, Blacwyn.
Aye, it's always an option.
It's always an option, but as our dear Iamon is saying, it should not be the first.
Let's see which one they choose then.
let's go find that Ellis then. Iamon, with me.
Okay.
And kind of start walking towards that side and waiting
Okay.
for the messenger to catch up to make it look like we're in charge and not doing what they've asked.
I
Okay.
think I've given like I want to give like a message like wrapped in an arrow to Cuxsusia, to have.
Is there such a thing as like a banner of truce? You know what I mean? Like the white flag sort of, we're sending our delegation over kind of thing?
Well, look, I'll cut the chase here. As soon as you make a move towards one of the camps, the other camp will react. Because as far as Gwyn and the wolves are concerned, you've just made a move towards the wrong side. So you haven't left, you haven't joined them. That leaves the third part of that. And you can see that warband closing fast on you with the intention of probably taking you down with missiles before you get close. So the way this game works is that having made a decision, you live with the consequences. So what you have done is to try to cover the open ground towards the Serpent Banner and risk the missile storm from the Golden Wolf. Yeah. If you stay put, you will suffer the consequence. So this is a blood and valor challenge against the wolves, who are now beginning to pepper you with javelins and sling stones. The way this works is that Gwyn has a D8 name dice. He is called Storm Rider. I don't think the storm has an effect here, but he and his band are war trained, which is a D10. So I'm highlighting that as well. So he's going to roll a D8 and a D10. And the highest number is a 2. Didn't you do well? I then add a number, usually a 5, to the highest dice. So that is simply 7. So 7 is the difficulty of avoiding the harm that those wolves could inflict on you. If you succeed, you will make it to the camp of the Serpent Banner. If you fail, you will be captured by the wolves. Okay? So let us start with the person who set off, I think, first towards the Serpent Banner. That is Cuxsusia and Iamon. So Cuxsusia, you know how this works now. Name dice. Does your epithet count, and if so, in what way?
I don't think so. I think it was almost the flip side, where like I did not foresee the consequences of this, and I probably should have.
Well, you see, feel free to interpret Far-Seer as broadly as you like. That could be a sudden flash of intuition of what is to come.
Okay, yeah, I could see that then, yeah.
Because I will tell you that a whole flock of ravens have risen from that oak tree. And so the ground around you is covered with the flitting shadows of ravens, which I think is a pretty sound omen for things are not going to go well. So I think you should count your epithet.
Okay.
And this is blood and valor. This is about getting there quickly. Yeah. So I think that's what 3d6s.
Yeah, Cuxsusia Far-Seer will engage in blood and valor. Let's see. Now we need a different pool over there. And oh, they changed on me, but they got better. So that's good. It's a 10.
Oh, a 10 versus the warband 7. So you prevail, and I'll ask you what that looks like in a moment. Let's go to the other person who set off first, which was Iamon.
Yeah, I think Iamon would try to dodge whatever is coming at him. He's quite adept at dodging stuff, because as the monster hunter, you have to be able to get out of the way of harm pretty often. And
yeah, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
And blood and valor is also a d6, so you're also on 3d6.
So I will say this: Iamon, the monster hunter, will engage in blood and valor, and will roll 3d6. And it's another 10. So
It was almost a 12 till
yeah,
Roll for Your Party had second thoughts.
it's fine. I'm happy with a 10.
And then Blacwyn and Vecinda, you are with the rest of your warband. I'm going to go to Blacwyn first.
Blacwyn, the Silver-Handed, raises it into the air and screams and yells out, "To the death, then!" And raises his shield, calling upon the men to join him in blood and valor.
Fine.
Yeah.
So that is 2d6 and a d8.
Yep. Oops. That is a 5 and an 8.
Exactly. So that's 13. What about Vecinda then?
Vecinda raises her shield to her heart and then finds the shields of many of her other warband brothers and sisters covering her as she begins to run forward against the arrows and slings and javelins. So Vecinda, Man-Tamer, goes with blood and valor.
I think Man-Tamer counts here. So that's 3d6, I think.
Yep. So let's move this back. And ooh, that is a 12.
Gee whiz. So it is Blacwyn who prevails. So Blacwyn, how does this situation resolve itself?
I think it is that, you know, the shield wall advances around, bringing in like more archers and stuff to fight back against the wolves. And as some of the wolves like skirmishers close, Blacwyn is just like leaping in there, knocking them aside as the men cheer and, you know, repulse this attack by the wolves.
And cover the retreat towards Ellis's serpent banner. Fine. So Blacwyn, you get 7 glory. Everyone else gets 4 glory because you all prevailed, but Blacwyn was the most successful. And that's the way that these contests resolve, really. They may get stiffer with time, but that's the principle.
Do the opposing dice get higher? Because it feels like we have a lot of resources that we're not really going to need to use them most of the time.
Well, time will tell, but yes, depending on circumstances, they have other dice to throw. And I will admit that I'm being slightly generous early on, just to give you a feel for the mechanic. And so you find yourself being cheered as you stream into Ellis, Daughter of the Four Winds camp. Well done, you have come to join us. Might is right, and we have might now. So it looks like whatever thoughts you had about your role in this, you appear to have chosen a side by default. What do you do once you arrive in the camp? What do we see Iamon doing?
Well, they have a leader here, right? What's her name?
There's a large tent in the shadow of this serpent banner. Ellis, Daughter of the Four Winds.
Oh, okay. Then I will greet her.
Yeah, that's where we were headed, so I think I'll stick with you.
Yeah, that's where we headed. And I will greet her, introduce us, and ask her why these guys over there thought it was a good idea to attack us.
As she clasps your hand, puts a hand on her shoulder and say, "Welcome. The more spears we have, the better." And she shakes both Cuxsusia and Iamon's hand with real pleasure that you've decided to join her.
Still want to know what this is about.
And she says, "Oh, these are matters of state, but we will discuss them later. For now," when she talks to a steward, "get our these new cohorts, our new friends, these new warriors, get them somewhere to stay, get them food, get them ale." And I guess that's about the time when Vecinda and Blacwyn will be arriving, but go ahead, Iamon.
I would like to know what cause we are meant to join here. We are not your cohorts yet.
She looks slightly askance at you, but you have come to join us.
We have come to talk to you, and they attacked us.
They are dishonorable folk. It is no surprise that they decided to attack you. We would not have. We would have allowed you to make a choice. But that is not the kind of people they are. They
That sounds
are
honorable
bad
enough.
people.
You speak in generalities. What have they done to bring dishonor on their names?
Matters of state, I must deal with them. Please, be welcome to our camp. Drink our ale, eat our food. We will speak later. And she goes back into the tent, where she is protected by a significant body of her Hearth guard.
I look at Iamon and say,
I
I'm
do
more
not-
than happy to drink their ale and eat their food, but I'm with you as far as belaying any potential alliance until we know what we're joining.
Yeah, I don't know. Like her, these are matters of the state. We have not been sent here to be treated like commoner folks we send away from the table of the Lord. I mean, that I do not think that we are honoring our purpose here if we let this happen. I mean,
Her demeanor rubs me the wrong way as well.
Hmm.
But this ale is tolerable.
Blacwyn, what do you do when you now arrive and you've caught the tail end of this? Must be said, the rest of your warband are happily taking ale being poured out by the servants of Ellis.
As the mugs of Gale gets handed around, Blackwyn takes one out of one of his warband's hands and clamps a hand on their shoulders and one of their shoulders and just leans in and says, "Be careful." And sips. And I will just, I'm going to try and the average, the fighting man. If it's matters of state are close to us, then what does the warrior think? Our men and theirs, kind of thing.
Oh, right. So you're going to socialize with the common man?
Yeah.
Okay, Vecinda, what do we see you doing when you arrive? Do you take the ale? Do you take the offered food?
There is a cornucopia that she empties out on a table. She holds it above her head. Three men take their mugs of ale, dump in the cornucopia. It drowns over her as she has her mouth open, just drinking it in as celebratorily as she can, as I believe she is going to be celebrating with the common folk about this victory and this alliance to maybe get information.
Now, it looks like access to the leadership is not currently available, Iamon and Cuxsusia. The question is whether either of you wants to do anything significant about that at this point.
yes.
What do you do, Iamon?
Okay, everybody else is partying. That's nice. Cuxsusia, are you partying as well?
I wouldn't call it partying.
Are you coming with me?
Drinking a cornucopia of ale. Just
Are
sort
you
of
coming with
relaxing.
me when I go to confront this princess?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll step up to the tent and say to them, the warriors outside, look, I am Iamon, Giant Killer, Demon Bane, Slayer of the Moonlit Boar, Son of Uther, Prince of Elmet, and I will talk about matters of state with your princess now.
And these burly armored warriors that are her bodyguard, I think that this is a contest that you've just defined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll for her and her camp, her D8 name dice. I am going to roll a D10 for the fact that she encourages her men to be daring, her people to be daring. And I'm not going to invoke the four winds at this point, her epithet. So I'll roll those two to work out the challenge here. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 11. So the challenge is 11. Now, this might be where I can explain how bonds work. If you had a bond with Cuxsusia, then you could spend that bond, and if Cuxsusia agrees, she can lend you her name dice. Yeah?
Okay.
I think this sounds like blood and valor, because they are there to protect her.
No, I think it's a resolve for me because this is more strength of will than it is
Okay.
actually
So
bold
you're,
action or something like that.
so you're trying to cow them almost with
Yes.
that
Yeah.
list of titles and
Yeah.
do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no, I get that.
That's
So
what I'm trying to do.
Iamon Monster-Hunter gives you 2d6.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend the bond with Cuxsusia, you get to, if Cuxusia is willing, you can borrow her name dice,
Mm-hmm.
which is another d6,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have d8 for resolve and spirit. So this is 3d6. Cuxsusia, is that okay?
Can I
Yeah,
borrow?
if you want to do that, go for it.
I think I want to do that, yes.
I'm
Okay.
picturing after your list of all those incredible epithets, like, yeah, and I'm a Far-Seer. Take that. I got one.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I have 3d6 and 1d8.
A d8,
right?
and you're
Okay.
looking to succeed against 11.
Oh, well, that's still not guaranteed. Oh, but I have a 13.
13. So you gain the challenge level. You gain 11 glory.
Wow.
Because you lent aid, Cuxsusia, you get 1 glory. And you prevail. And the guards kind of back off, and the pair of you go into the tent. Where she is, you would have said that she was at a table eating with a much older man. And this much older man has a certain regal bearing about him. And she looks up and says, I had hoped to delay this until we had all eaten. What is it you wish?
Princess, you spoke to me of matters of the state as if I was some clod who could not understand this concept, and I'm not.
For that, I apologize. I did not understand your lineage and your place in the world. Please, you and your companion, please sit. And she invites you to sit at the table with her and introduces, may I introduce Medwyn? And she pauses, and there's all like inverted commas around King of the Isles.
Ah, is this the king then that the Golden Wolves wish returned?
It is Lord King, is it not? And he looks, kind of daggers at her. And he says to you, I was taken by stealth and by treachery. And she says, my lord, that is not true. You came to us in arms. What do you do?
This is quite a fortuitous circumstance then, Iamon. We're trying to figure out matters of state on both sides, and here are the heads of the warring bands to present their case to us.
My nephew will not betray what I have told him. My nephew will come and take me from this camp. He will not negotiate with this girl.
Your Highness, we would be more than capable of taking you from this camp immediately, should you so persuade us. But first we need to know the lay of the land. There are signs and portents that we are trying to interpret. We are strangers in this land, but not powerless to affect it. So you would do your best to sway us to your side, rather than the Daughter of the Four Winds. She has been withholding of information. I hope that we will not find you to be so.
And he looks appraisingly at you. And you bring to mind the signs of the gods. And I suppose I'm curious whether you're seeing whether any of those signs are in any way becoming clear to you. The Morrigan, a broken shield and feasting ravens. Cernunnos, a fallen stag crowned with arrows. Blacwyn, a caged dove beating at its cage. I'm just curious whether that is in as the context. Feel free to fill in what you think any of those mean as we play.
I am wondering if we found that caged bird or not, or if things have gone too far, if this might be the stag in here.
Meanwhile, let us cut to outside where Vecinda and Blacwyn are sharing cups or great horns of ale with members of Ellis's warband. Vecinda, what do we see you doing?
I think like she is again with like the youth.
Oh, you went suddenly silent. Sorry.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. I don't know what happened then.
Sorry. No, she's with like the younger members, like just getting them drunk, slapping them on the back, being like that cool aunt figure, but trying to get gossip about what side she has supposedly so much either celebrated with.
Is that something Blacwyn is engaged with, helping with?
Yeah, I think he is, because I think that Blacwyn is staying sober and keeping an eye out while Vecinda is the center of attention, So I'm sitting in between and sort of like maybe slightly more alert to the gossip than Vecinda might be after several cups.
Okay, well, let's see how difficult it might be to milk this lot for gossip. So that is, wow, that is a whole 13. They clearly are very loyal, and you're having to oil them, or you are becoming rather too well oiled to make a lot of sense. So who's going to be at the sharp end of this contest, and will the other person be prepared to help if the sharp end burns a bond?
I feel like Vecinda is the more gregarious one.
I will be the tip of the torch. Let's just hope I don't catch fire.
Okay.
So and I will take the bond.
Okay, so it's not take it. It's that Vecinda will burn that bond to borrow your name dice.
Yeah.
So this is arts and oration, I think, is a challenge. Because you do need to convince them. And so I think that you're rolling 1 for your name, 1 for your epithet, 1d6 for arts and oration, and you're borrowing Blacwyn. So you're rolling 4d6.
Is there any way to get a 13 then?
That's a good point. There isn't. This is a good time to work out what else you could do. Let's talk about divine favor. If you choose to spend a divine favor, i.e. untick one of those boxes, and if what you're doing reflects one of them where you have a box to untick, then you will also roll a d4. And that d4 is added to the best of your 2 dice.
Ooh.
It's quite tricky, but you could in theory spend more than 1 divine favor if you can find an approach that overlaps their spheres.
I do believe I can. I am going to use conviction to have been getting most of the alcohol on me, not in me, with that lovely cornucopia trick, and beauty, as I am a glimmering, sopping wet, lovely woman.
And no doubt a man-tamer. So you could uncheck those 2 boxes, and this would allow you to roll 4d6 and 2d4, and the 2d4s add to the total. They're not part of. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get. Do you mind if I borrow one of the red?
No, go ahead. So
let me roll all the d6s, and I'll add the 2 d4s. Okay, so that's a 9, and then
went the crowd. This is dicing with death.
With an additional 7.
Wow! So that prevails. So you, Vecinda, because you took the risk there, you will gain 13 glory. Blacwyn, for your support, you gain 1 glory. And what spills out over the rest of the afternoon is that the War Master of the Wolves, Gwyn, called Storm Rider of the Isles, and the Lady Ellis of the Lowlands are here for peace. They are here to negotiate a peace. But their feud is clearly more than about the statecraft. There is something personal about this. And I guess that the men think that any talk of talk is just doomed. This will end with death and blood. King Medwyn, who's recently been captured by Ellis, it is said would sooner die than allow his war master to accept a treaty. Okay? Do you want me to flesh any of that out, or is that enough to be going on with?
No, that's lovely for me. How about you, Blackwyn?
Well, Master Gwyn is the Storm Rider is the man who he's talking about, isn't it? One
The
who
war
attacked
master
us.
of the wolves, the other camp.
Yeah. That's good with me. I mean, maybe he's right. Maybe he does have to die before Gwyn will accept peace.
Cuxsusia and Iamon, much the same will come out of your conversation. Every time you try to suggest to Medwyn, well, what if? He says, no, not at all. My nephew is absolutely clear. There is only one way out of this, and that is our victory, complete and final. And Ellis looks at you as if to say, that's what I'm dealing with.
You see what I have to put up with here. So I guess on a bit of a metagame level, is it possible that we could try to do a challenge to convince them of something else, or is it just that's not?
I think at this point you would need to shift the fiction quite a lot. I don't think that Medwyn is just going to say, do you know, that's quite a good idea. I think you need to find some way to leverage him to change the fiction enough to change his mind.
Why don't we
So
ransom him back? What price would they pay for their king back?
Well, what I'm going to suggest, well, let me just deal with the tent first. So, Iamon, you're still in the tent with Cuxsusia. You've heard this conversation. Is there anything you want to do in the tent?
yeah, would like to clarify one thing that would come out in the conversation. So is Gwen the heir of that Medwyn?
That's what it sounds like, certainly. Yeah,
okay.
He's his second in command.
So I will then, of course, I mean, I will suggest it because it seems like a lot. And I mean, the princess or whatever she is, she's unmarried.
As she is.
Oh,
You may be following the line of reasoning I was thinking.
Yeah, wow. And he is called the Storm Master Rider, and she's called the Master of the Four Storms. That seems to me fate.
Or conceivably a dove caged.
Yes, and that seems to be kind of fateful to me. Like maybe there is a solution that does not involve bloodshed and that would benefit both your countries.
What I'm going to suggest is you've put that on the table. Ellis blushes, and Medwyn goes purple with rage. How dare you even suggest that I would breed with these people? My people are superior in all ways.
Prove it.
And I will. My nephew will demonstrate that on the field of battle.
Why on the field?
Oh, sorry. If I while he's talking, I pull out my dagger and put it under his chin and say, do it quickly.
Ellis reaches across and puts her hand on your wrist. The king is my prisoner, but I am also his host. I am bound by the rules of hospitality. He is safe under my roof, and this, for all his intent, is my roof.
Yeah. All right, then I'll drag him out of the tent.
No, let's not go down the murder road right now. Let's just this person here says his nephew will prove it on the field of battle. Well, it doesn't have to be armies. Make this a personal challenge.
What I'm going to suggest is at this point, you're not going to change Medwyn's view. Ellis for what is listening to your strategies, and we'll think about them. But I'd quite like to get the four of you back together so we can agree some kind of where we go next. Yeah. So Vecinda, damp with drying ale. Blacwyn, still sipping. Cuxsusia and Iamon, let's have you back in the camp as dusk begins to fall. This is a funny place. You never see the sun. Sometimes part of the sky brightens, but it never clears. It is always misty. You can never see very far. And so as the gloom descends and we are left with firelight in Ellis's camp, what's the nature of discussion? What's the thoughts about what happens next?
Well, I can see why he chose to solve things with marriage again, Iamon. But if I remember, it does require both people to say yes.
Yes, but I think I have a feeling about this. I mean, we saw this omen of those of unlucky in love, right? And the names. I mean, this is the other world, and this is the place where stories and omens and things like that become true.
We also
Yes.
saw an omen of a corpse with its eyes being plucked by a raven. I can make a corpse for us very quickly, if you'll just free my hands.
No,
Victory by any means, as the Morrigan.
You're fighting too literally. If he's bound by the rules of hospitality, we fight in hospitable ways.
I think bringing dishonor upon our heads will not further our cause in the eyes of the gods. And breaking the rule of hospitality, I mean, I am a Christian, but I remember Celtic gods being pretty wild about the rules of hospitality.
They attacked us.
They did? When we were their guests?
No. But one way or another, this will end in blood.
But we
I
should
look
not...
at Vecinda for that when Blacwyn says it will end in blood. Like, she seems to think not.
Oh, it
But I would
will
like
end in blood.
details.
It will end in blood, but it doesn't have to end in anyone's blood from this side. If I'm to bring people into my house, it is my rule to defend them. But under hospitality, they should also not shirk their own duties. And I think she will look at Iamon and it's like, and you were talking about a duel between equals.
Yes. And then these two can decide where they want this whole thing to go.
Exactly. And as she is the ruler, she should be able to choose a champion. Anyone under her aegis.
That's quite a neat segue, actually, because as you were talking, the wind builds and the storm breaks and sleeting rain sweeps across the camp. The campfires just gutter slightly. And as that's happening, Ellis and her guard come out into the camp and say, "It's a bleak night, my friends. Gather, let us tell stories and raise our spirits with tales of great deeds." And the warband gathers round. And there ensues almost a contest of tale-telling and boasting. Do any of the characters want to take part?
Oh, yes.
I think I'll probably come to Cuxsusia last, for fairly obvious reasons, perhaps.
Because she's good at it. I'm not good at it, but I will do it for the 4 points for love. Because I've got a tale of love.
This might be a way to establish reputation relationship. So for her and her people, I am going to roll a D8 name dice, for she is Ellis. And in the conditions, I am also going to roll the D8 for the 4 winds. Because I think she's trying to clear the effect of these winds and storm. I think I will also roll a d6 because she is compassionate. And I think, yeah, I think those are the 3 dice I will roll to work out what the challenge is. Oh my goodness, that's 18 plus 5 is 23. Can I say again, is any character happy to take part in this boasting contest? Because she tells a tale of such breadth and grandeur and royalty that it's 23 to beat. Iamon?
I can't beat that.
Remember that you can always contribute to somebody else's if they
Yes,
have a bond. So
I would.
there's always
I
an
would
option.
do that. I would do that.
Yeah. What about Blacwyn?
I don't see any way I could possibly beat that score to begin with. No matter how many things I spent.
It is like I'm trying to think if you used
All of my divine favors.
all of it and rolled well on everything. Even
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, so I'm out.
Okay. What about Vecinda?
I'm drunk. I don't know what you're talking about. This is fine. I'm gonna listen.
So it looks like all attention falls on Cuxsusia Far-Seer. And what tale do you tell, Cuxsusia?
okay. Let's see. I think we'll try to go for broke. Yeah. Okay. No, we'll do that. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Here we go. Cuxsusia Far-Seer will use arts and oration to tell a fable of the ferocious wolves and the clever and daring serpents, and how they warred over territory in the wild, in the forests of the olden days, and they fought with each other and battled over these great prizes, the hunting grounds, the streams, the springs, the fresh air, the sunlight, and as they were warring, it was corpses piling up on both sides, and their finest were dying. Their most clever, their most ferocious, their most insightful were dying as they beat their heads together. And the story gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you see the worms that are feeding on the corpses, and the worms that are growing fat and happy and continuing to thrive while these great beasts are wasting their energy against each other. It is the worms that triumph in the end.
What a story.
Yeah, we'll see what that does.
Let's see what that does. So this is 2d6 plus arts and oration of d8. You have some bonds you could cash in, don't you? Do you want to borrow Iamon and Vecinda's name dice to increase your chance of a high number?
Well, Iamon said he'd be willing to give that.
I think Vecinda is giving that indication as well.
Oh, so you can use more than one?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
That's probably wise.
I imagine, Iamon, how do you think Iamon's name is invoked in this story?
That's a good question. How do I think Iamon's name is invoked in this story? I think well, I mean, even you could add a clause into this that even when a threatening monster came, it took Iamon Monster-Hunter to get rid of it. Why? Because everybody else was so focused on fighting each other instead of dealing with a direct threat.
So there are these wolves and serpents, but actually there's a monster hunter who could take a hand here, you know. What about Vecinda? How is Vecinda's name invoked in this tale as Cuxsusia has outlined it?
By the people's reactions, because Vecinda is getting them to cheer, gasp, react at the exact proper moments to when they have the right to realize what's going on.
All that oiling of the social wheels this afternoon pays off. Yes. So we're looking, I think, at 4d6, a d8, and do you want to invoke any of the gods?
Oh, yes. That's what I was angling for with the ferocious and daring. I was hoping to get
Kernunos.
Kernonos and Camulos in there. And the whole idea of trying to convince them with a story, I think, is definitely a Morrigan kind of thing, with also the dead and the... what's the word I'm looking for? The scavengers.
Yeah, worms and ravens. So I think you're unticking one of the Morrigans and each of the Camulus and Kernunos. And so you're rolling 4d6, a d8, and 3d4.
So that means that it would be possible. It is possible now. It's not likely, but it is possible. All right, so we're going to need...
I had a sudden flashback to Armor Class 1, level X. What do I need on a D20? Go.
All right, so it was 46.
A D8.
A D8.
And 3d4s.
And 3d4. So I'm going to... I think there's only 2 out there right now, seems like. True. So I will give another one, but I will roll it with all of this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's... Yeah.
Oh boy, this is going to be exciting. Here we go. So, it keeps changing. We got an 8 and a 4 is a 12, 15, so 8. Nope. Couldn't get up
17.
there.
So you do not prevail. And the consequences is that your collective influence on Ellis and the warband kind of goes, yeah. It was a long story, frankly, bit boring. And, you know, of course people are going to die. That's what war is all about, is the kind of reaction. So you fail. There's no other consequences. No glory is offered. But Blacwyn, you're the only person who wasn't tightly involved in that. Mm-hmm. And as you know, you've described yourself as not drinking heavily, keeping your eyes open. And what you notice as the tale is coming to a conclusion and people are kind of about not to applaud, you see out of the corner of your eye, ravens circling Ellis's tent. And as they come down to the ground, they take on the shape of one of her guards. Now, the other guards are all with her. The king is still in there. And as the ravens form this guard, he draws the tent flap aside, draws a knife, and you see his silhouette lit from within. What do you do?
Stride straight in there, you know, like I think snatching up a weapon off the ground, like as I approach the tent.
And doing what? As if I didn't know, but I'd like to be clear.
Of course. Yeah, well, you know, flinging that tent door, like, you know, just straight in. And, you know, if he's standing, like, bent down in front of someone, then I won't kill him. But if he's attacking someone, then I will kill him, you know? Like,
It is clear that he is going for the king, who is dozing on a pallet.
Yeah, I'm gonna chop his hand off.
Well, let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
So this is actually a priestess of the Morrigan, which is worth D6. This is a vengeful priestess. That's a D8, and it's perilous. Now, because it's perilous, if you fail in this, you will mark pathos. You will be actually harmed by this. Mm-hmm. So that's a D8. And she is glamoured as one of his Hearthguard, one of her Hearthguards. So that's another D8. And she has a further D8. I'll reroll one of them in a minute, because she has the divine favour of the Morrigan. Grants D8 advantage when inciting violence, which I think is what's about to happen. So I roll those 4 dice. So that is 10. I'll re-roll the 1. No difference. So difficulty is 10 plus the normal strife of 5 is 15 is the challenge.
Okay.
What do you do, Blacwyn?
Well, I'm Blacwyn the Silver-Handed, is as in so many things, taking bold action.
He is.
Blood and Valor. So that is, what?
2d6 and a d8 to start
2d6
with.
and a d8 to start with, which is pretty good odds, isn't it? And I can invoke divine favors after the roll, is that correct?
No. I did that the first time round just to illustrate the way that they work differently.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I will burn. This is a daring, bold action. I'll burn one with
everyone's attention is on the campfire and the tails. There's nobody else can get involved in this.
Yeah. Well, I think the odds are in my favor at this point.
So you're rolling 2d6, a d8, and a d4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. That is 10. Bang on.
That is a 10 versus 15 fails. You mark pathos, and the king dies.
Oh dear.
And out of the tent goes a flock of ravens. How did you fail?
I think that I was just a step too far behind, and as I come into the tent, she's already plunged the sword into his chest, and the axe comes swinging down, and as it does, as it connects, it just bursts into ravens.
Excellent. Do you say anything before the rest of the Hearthguard arrive? I'm just curious.
I fling down, I just fling the axe into the ground, like burying it, and I lean forward to Medwyn. And if he has a last gasp of breath, I say, "Last words for your nephew."
Never surrender. And that's when the Hearthguard burst into the room, because obviously this explosion of ravens out of the tent has drawn everyone's attention. Iamon, I think I'll allow you to get there early on with the Hearthguard, because you're doing less of the social oiling that Vecinda is doing. They burst into the tent and seize Blacwyn. What do you do?
I already seizing Blacwyn. Blacwyn didn't murder this guy.
He's killed the king, one of them shouts.
The king has a dagger wound. Blacwyn has an axe.
Let's see if you can convince them of that. Using this, just stone. I'm assuming there's a degree of stonewalling going on here. So again, like all the representatives of Ellis, they all have the same dice descriptions. So that is 2d8. 2d8. A d10 for peril for her daring, their daring. I tell you what, I'm going to take that away because they also have a d6 of compassionate, and I think they will listen rationally to you. So they are rolling 2d8s. That is 11 plus 5 is a 16 to beat.
Oh wow, 16 is a lot. I think I'll need some favors from gods here, because
or bonds with other people.
But bonds give me another d6 to try and beat a 16. That's not going to happen with d6s, right? I mean, I really have
just increases the chance of getting a 6 if you roll 3 of them.
Yeah, can I maybe take the bond I have with Blacwyn, because he might be helpful here.
I don't think he's likely to be.
Yeah, I don't think my episode is very helpful here.
I'm struggling to see the epithet working.
Yeah. Can I?
Monsters, shapeshifters, ravens, the other
Oh,
world.
yeah.
But and if you were attacking the
Yeah.
monster, but I think
Yeah.
defending the innocent victim.
Yeah, that's not really. I'm not sure if I can use tenacity or inspiration for this.
I think inspiration. Maybe you come up with a
Yeah.
really clever defense.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
So
look at the shape of the wound.
yeah, that's pretty much. And look at the blade of his axe. So I'll use that. I have then a d6 and a d8. I'm Iamon Monster-Hunter, and I use resolve and spirit to convince these guys.
And
that it
you
was,
reduce
was
the
not
bond
black.
with Blacwyn to
And
get his d6.
Yes, and so it's 2d6 and 1d8, and I will also figure in insight, because that seems like a good idea, and precision, because we need to judge this in a precise fashion. So I've got these
I'll go
two,
with that.
and that guy, I'm going to put that one away. There are two of these. This I don't need. And I've got to be 16, right? Oh,
You do.
Oh, I do. I do? I do not. I've
No,
got a
that
13.
looks like a 10 plus 3. That's 13.
It's a 13. I do not.
So Blacwyn is successfully accused of the murder of the king.
Damn.
That would seem to be an appropriate cliffhanger onto which to have our second commercial break. It's 6 minutes past now. Is 4 minutes long enough, or do you want a bit longer?
A bit longer.
Okay, let's make it 12. Let's make it 12 minutes past the hour. Okay, I'll pause the recording. Okay, we're back after our break, and the situation we find ourselves now then is that it is dawn the following day. Blacwyn is imprisoned, stroke in chains, stroke subdued and surrounded, and Ellis has a dead king on her hands, and a nephew across the field, who is the new king, if he but knew it. What are you going to do? Let me start with Iamon.
Well, I've tried to convince them that this was not Blacwyn. I think I've talked to Blacwyn to figure out what was really going on, and I imagine he told me. Okay, you're nodding. I'm guessing that's a yes. So we have a shape-shifty witch, raven witch, who killed the king. I need to find the shape-shifty raven witch now. I mean, that's just logic. So I will start asking around, or trying to find. I try to find any kind of lead that would lead me to whoever really killed the king.
I mean, I'll tell you now that flock of ravens which have been perched up in that oak tree up on the escarpment are still there. So, I dare say Blacwyn has told you what he saw last night when these ravens formed a person. Cuxsusia, I'm curious what you make of his description and how that makes you feel. Because if this wasn't the Morrigan, an act of the Morrigan or her agents, it's weird.
I'm fine with what happened. Like, I don't like that Blacwyn is tied up, but I was thinking of killing the king anyway. Some ravens came in, did it. Like, he said he would have to die to make this peace happen. So step one, we just got to deal with the fact that they think Blacwyn did it. Which, if I hadn't boned the storytelling so well, I feel I could say, look, this is a pretty clear divine sign of what's going on, everyone. But I don't know that this is the time that they would want to listen to me very well, at least narratively. I know mechanically, who knows, it would depend on the dice. But I think I need more evidence of the supernatural of this, and that could be a bit of a two birds, one stone sort of thing with helping out Blacwyn and convincing them that, look, the divine didn't want him around. Now get your act together.
So this sounds like Cuxsusia is seeing this as an opportunity rather than a threat. Vecinda, what are you thinking at this point?
It seems at this time that at least my allies need time, and if it's one thing I'm good at, it's buying time. So I'm looking for an audience with Ellis for the first time of my own.
Okay, let's have that conversation then. What's your intention here?
I want to basically I want to have this conversation to convince her that the king is dead. There is no getting around with that. There is, but that doesn't mean you have to be the one to land the final blow. You can bring him in, the new king to be under your hospitality. And if you would put Blacwyn to death, who could deliver the proper final words to the new king? And maybe the proper gratitude to this new king would to be offering him the chance to do what should be done with the person who killed his father, and hopefully buy enough time to get the real person who killed the father in.
Okay. That sounds like you're trying to convince her, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds like oscillation. This
I
may
was
be.
thinking more reason, trying to use ingenuity to get her into seeing my side of the story.
I think that if you wanted to invoke a divine favor around being ingenious, that would be it. But I'm intellect, academics, tactics, healing arts, intrigue, and trickery. I'm not sensing trick here. That sounds like an honest broker approach.
Okay.
Now, let me explain a final bit of mechanical gubbins. You can invoke a second, third, or fourth domain dice by spending pathos.
Oh.
Yeah. So though my judgment is this is arts and oration, you could spend pathos to make it about the slightly cunning way you come at this, giving you craft and reason. Yeah.
I will do that.
You could even spend a second pathos to invoke blood and valor, and kind of try to incite her to do the decent thing. How you narratively construct that, but the mechanical cost is pathos.
I will do that then. And...
Well, let me tell you how bad it's going to be first. Because she is Ellis, daughter of the Four Winds. You are now talking about her really kind of being the full person. This is the step up. She is compassionate. So I'm going to roll 2 d8s, a d10, and a d6. Which isn't bad. That's 9 plus 5 is 14 to beat.
Okay. I think I still will burn that pathos to get a
d8 in
reason.
There.
Yeah. And I think
I have to say though that I'm not seeing how your epithet plays here.
I do not either. But I also believe that can I invoke just the cunning of the Morrigan to try
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then I will burn that divine favor, so I think it's a Vecinda, my epithet not withstanding, using arts and oration and craft and reason with the cunning of the Morrigan.
Fine. So 2d6, a d8, and 1d4.
Do you want a bond die?
Aha.
Ooh. How would you like to help me?
Well, you're doing a story. You're using your words, and I feel like I could certainly have taught you some rhetorical tricks if you want to employ them. I don't know how helpful an extra d6 is here, but if in your estimation it is.
I will do it. I will burn that bond and
spend the bond, get an extra. So that's 3d6, d8, d4.
Yeah, let me roll the d6s first. Let's do the. Here is the d8, and here is the d4.
Oh, that's 13.
Yes.
So she can only see one solution to this, which is on the field of battle. She is prepared to offer Blacwyn that opportunity to fight for her, because he'll be fighting for his own life, conceivably, from her point of view. That's the best she will do.
Fine.
And so I think we go to what is in the terms of the game called the finale, the battle. Now, the battle has a number of stages in it. First of all, I establish the circumstances, and you then have an opportunity to get advantage. One of you will get advantage. So I'm going to just roll 2d6 and tell you that the starting difficulty here is 9. Yeah? So how do we see any of you contributing to preparing for this trial? Iamon, what are you doing?
Can you tell me the fictional framework here? Are the serpents battling the wolves, or is just Blacwyn battling Gwyn?
The serpents are battling the wolves, or they are lined up.
Okay.
But Ellis issues a challenge to Gwyn that will bring him forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Blacwyn will both fight for her and himself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah? So, okay.
Okay, fair enough. So this is a duel, basically, then.
That's what it's looking like. If it all goes pear-shaped, this could quickly devolve into chaos.
Yeah, okay. But for a duel, what I would do is try to first try to see the Blacwyn, because he's been injured, right? And maybe I can bind up his wounds and stuff like that, and also give him kind of pointers as to what I've seen from how these wolf guys came at us.
I will go for that. So you are Iamon Monster-Hunter.
Yeah.
You've been in these kind of situations. You are rolling with resolve and spirit. Do you want to throw anything else at this, like spend pathos to invoke another domain?
I think I have to beat a 9, right?
You have to beat a 9.
2d6, 1d8. Yeah, maybe I'll spend a pathos to roll in blood and valor, because I mean this is battle, and that's always a thing. So I'll roll 3d6 and 1d8 and have to beat a 9. Let's see how that goes. Oh yeah, I've got an 11. No, I have got an 11. Yeah.
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 So that's good. Moving along. How does Cuxsusia help in preparing for this final confrontation?
The best way to win a duel is to have advantages that the other side doesn't know about. So I think if narratively it works that I have a chance to examine the ground where this is going to take
I like
place.
That. Yeah.
Kind of subtly reorganize, like putting a hole here that if you maneuver him into, he might snap his ankle, and there's some unstable rocks here that he won't have his balance on, and just giving Blacwyn, not just telling him the lay of the land, but reorganizing it so that he has the upper hand.
That sounds like craft and reason.
Certainly believable.
So Cuxsusia Far-Seer, because you've been out to have a look, rolls with craft and reason. Do you want to spend pathos to invoke any other of the domains?
I think I might, but I'm not sure which one.
Pep talk.
Yeah, I suppose that works.
Yeah.
And
so mark pathos, and you get to put a D8 in there.
All right, so that would be 1, 2, 3 D6 and a D8.
That's right. Versus 9.
And there will be more rolling, I'm assuming, at some point.
There might well be. Yes.
Yeah, so
honestly.
I should hold some in reserve. So 3 D6 and a D8 sounds like I've got a shot at least. And they kept changing on me, and it turns out I do not have a shot. It went from very good to a miss.
Okay,
7.
so you have failed in that effort. You will get no glory out of this.
Oh, I'm getting used to it.
What about Vecinda?
I am going to try to use the last bit of my goodwill to try and make sure the soldiers stand at a specific distance away from the battle. It seems that the wolves fight with mainly thrown weapons and range, so if they stand too close and this is a one-on-one duel, he can't utilize his best skills in case he would hit one of our people in risk escalation.
That sounds like craft and reason, and I think Man-Tamer works here because this is about taming the opposition, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 2d6 and a d8, unless you want to do anything else.
We'll burn Pathos to use also Blood and Valor, since I am utilizing this battle formation.
Okay, so that's 3d6 and a d8.
Let's hope this works.
Oh, it doesn't.
Nope.
That's a 7. So much for that help. And finally, then, we come to Blacwyn. How are you preparing for this confrontation?
Sharpening my axe.
So Blacwyn Silver-Handed, sharpening the axe on the hand.
Yeah.
Blood and Valor?
I guess. Would it be Blood and Valor? I think perhaps it would be something else, wouldn't it? Maybe Resolve and Spirit? Resolve and Spirit, perhaps?
Resolve
it's more
and
about
Spirit.
psyching myself up, like kind of committing myself to death.
Okay. And do you want to spend any pathos to get another dice in here?
Yes, I will spend pathos for the Blood and Valor.
Okay, so I think that's 3d6 and a d8.
3d6 and a d8.
No divine favor.
What am I trying to beat again?
You're trying to beat 9.
9. I will spend. When do we refresh divine favor?
Not until the end of this session. Probably the start of next. Looking
That's
at the
fine.
clock.
I can spend 1. I will spend my conviction with Modron.
Fine. So add a d4 in there, and that is added to the top 2 dice. Let's roll them.
I get 12.
12. Okay, so you succeeded. So you will get 9 glory. Iamon gets 5 glory. The other 2 failed. They don't get any glory. But you also, Blacwyn, go into this fight with a d10 advantage dice to be spent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The next stage in this final confrontation, the strife player announces the 2 or 3 disasters that the opponent is threatening. Yeah. Now, there is one disaster here, and that is that the Morrigan wants more dead people than just one guy. Yeah. The Morrigan wants a feast for ravens. And so the Morrigan is going to start messing with the battlefield. And she is beginning to cause a tremor in the escarpment above the camps, and she is beginning to spread water through the battlefield. So that is one potential disaster that could occur here. In fact, let me leave it at one disaster. Yeah. Now, the 4 of you have an option now. As this begins to unfold, you can either protect against that potential threat, that disaster. So you can take on the Morrigan's rockfall that's going to crush the camps, or the flooding that's going to make this battlefield a morass in which people are slaughtered. Or you can attempt to seize the initiative. Yeah, you can only do one of those things. So you can either stop a bad thing or seize the initiative. Whoever seizes the initiative most successfully will end up being the person who resolves the final battle. So though this is set up as a one-on-one, the Morrigan has just thrown chaos into the battlefield. Let me go round, starting with Vecinda. Will you defend, i.e. clearing people out of the way of the rockfall, trying to stop people just charging in when chaos erupts? I don't know. Will you defend against that threat, or will you seek to seize the initiative in the battle?
I believe, a poetic way to defend.
Fine. So Vecinda defends. Cuxsusia, what about you?
I'm not sure that I understand the seize part
Okay.
entirely.
If you choose to seize the initiative, then if more than one of you seizes the initiative, the one who is most successful in seizing it will be the person who defines the approach and the stakes in the final confrontation.
But at least one of us has to seize, right?
Well, if nobody seizes, then the finale will be disadvantageous to you. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to get on the Morrigan's bad side, so I think I will go with seize.
Okay, fine. What about Iamon? Defend the warbands.
I think I will defend the warbands because, I mean, this is Blacwyn's battle here, so I can try to stop the other people from getting drowned or hit by rocks or stuff like that. However, I will do that because, I mean, I don't even have a shield.
Well, you know, it could be convincing the two warbands to just not get engaged. You know, however you...
Yeah.
Stopping them being crushed by falling rocks and drowned in spreading peat bog is what you're trying to do. So let's start with the defend. Let's start with Cuxsusia. How, Cuxsusia, are you going to defend the warbands from the chaos about to be unleashed on them?
I'm going with seize rather than...
Oh, sorry, you are. I beg your pardon. So, Vecinda, how are you going to defend the innocents?
You said the Morrigan's ravens are flying around causing this chaos?
Yes.
Vecinda calls upon a bird call to summon a flock of doves, fighting war with peace, sending them to deflect the ravens from their cause of war.
I mean, that sounds like resolve and spirit, calling to animal spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's not Man-Tamer. It's definitely not Man-Tamer. It is my name, so that is 2d6. And is it still a 9?
Sorry, no, I will tell you how bad it is. Hang on. It is, this is Gwyn, a d6, 2d8s, and a d10. It is the, 17, 18, 19.
Okay, so I am definitely going to burn probably 2 pathos, 1 for blood and valor to try and stop combat, 1 for crafts and reason to use these doves tactically so they don't get hit by any ranged weapons that may be thrown, and no bonds to break. So I will also try and use divine favor of conviction and knowledge of the correct bird call.
Okay, so do that thing.
So that will be a grand total of 4d6, a d8, and 2d4.
It's a lot of dice.
Yep.
How can this go wrong?
Very easily. And let's... So that is a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17! Damn it!
So that is a failure. So unless Iamon can successfully defend, we're going to see a lot of innocent, drowned, and crushed warriors. Iamon?
Yeah, I will attempt mostly to just get these people. When I see that there's rocks fall, people drown, I will get them out of the way. I will tell them where to move and how to move and stuff like that. Only I don't see how I can get the Monster-Hunter into this, because this is more like a natural thing.
I have to say that's what it seems to me.
Yeah, that's fine. I will use Resolve and Spirit, and I will burn Pathos to drag in some Blood and Valor.
Yeah.
And I think I will use another Pathos to use Craft and Reason, because I need to get them to a certain point. So I'll have 3d6.
Is this the point where you want to burn another pathos and actually discover your speaking voice with arts and oration?
No, come on. That's not that's fine. I'm fine with 3d6 and 1d8, and then I will use precision, and I will use daring, and I will use fortitude, because I have them, and we actually need to prevail here, maybe. So I have 3d6, I've said, and 1d8, that's just one. But I have another d4. I will roll that in.
Burning that favor.
I'm burning all my favors now. I'll just submit that, but it won't count. I'll just use it and then roll all of them at once. And see how that goes. Probably not well. Who knows? Well, it goes well. I've got a 14 plus 7 is 23.
23.
Yeah.
Disaster averted, I think is what we're looking at there. And finally, we come to Blacwyn, out there in the center circle, with the ball at his feet.
Shouldn't we do Cuxsusia first?
Oh, sorry, Cuxsusia. I'd forgotten about Cuxsusia. I beg your pardon.
Tried to make me defend first.
Sorry, I know. I beg your pardon. I need to find a way to write this down on my sheet so it makes sense. So, go seize, Cuxsusia.
So I was kind of picturing this happening while he was fighting. Is it before?
Let's have, this is all happening at the same time.
Okay.
They engage, there's a bit of fencing going on, then the Morrigan invokes a bit of chaos, and go for it.
So I'm picturing this sort of as, so it's Blacwyn versus Gwyn, correct?
That was the theory.
Theoretically one-on-one, but that is...
failing fast.
Blacwyn is seeking out Gwyn within the, bellowing for Gwyn to the Storm Rider to face him.
Well, what I was picturing, and so I guess let me know if this is feasible, is while they are engaged in their fight in the middle of all this chaos, Cuxsusia is in Gwyn's ear, essentially reciting the story of the battle as it will be known before it's happening. And Gwyn lost his footing and was dealt a mighty blow by Blacwyn, and just kind of really distracting, and essentially like if it were a modern sporting event, heckling him. Like the idea of using the air horn while the basketball player is trying to make a shot or something like that. But it's while he is trying to attack Blacwyn.
Just let me be clear. Is your objective here to see Gwyn dead, or to see Gwyn convinced to a different approach? I just need to be clear. Because you talked about both of those earlier on, about different ways you could solve this.
Well, it was the other gentleman, Merwin?
That's right.
That I had wanted dead for sure, because he said, well, I have to die for this to work. I'm like, great, thanks for telling me what needs to happen. I think I want to see, what, you know what? Yeah, dead. The Morrigan wants corpses, let's give one. I'm trying to give Blacwyn the opportunity to smite this fool down.
If you roll better, it could be you who lands the final blow, just so you know. So go for it.
Absolutely fine with that. What is the domain? I guess arts and oration probably would be one. And I think I could get away with spending a pathos for blood and valor. I think I am talking about the future. So Cuxsusia the Far-Seer uses arts and oration and blood and valor. Definitely going arcane insight.
Okay.
And trying to have superior cunning, so I think I can use both of those d4s.
Okay.
So I think that's 3d6, a d8,
and 2d4.
2d4.
Yeah.
3d6, a d8, 2d4, which is mostly what we've got there. And we are against a 19.
You are.
All right. I'm going to not look as it rolls, because it always shows me good ones before it switches to bad ones. So reroll selected, cover my eyes.
Oh, wow. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm counting.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so Gwyn is still on the upper hand. We come to Blackwyn to finish this
Good
thing
luck, buddy.
or not.
Cool. So Blackwyn, amid this melee, seeks out Gwyn, and and like as we sort of hopefully like face off, say that the death itself wants this battle. We don't have to give it what it wants. Your uncle told me his last words. No, I don't want to say that. Never surrender. But what I'm going to say is that we don't owe. The gods don't have to get what they want. We can do it.
And therefore,
Blackwyn.
Blackwyn Silver-Handed, Blood and Valor, plus.
Well, is it blood? It is bold action, I think.
Yeah.
Bravado. No, you know what? I think it's reason actually, and I'm going to burn pathos to include blood and valor as well.
Okay. Is your objective to kill him or convince him?
My objective is to convince him. Maybe having to beat that realization into him. You know what I mean? Like have him at my mercy.
Well, that does sound like you have to have arts and oration in there.
Yeah. Okay. So then arts and oration instead of craft and reason, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, and then burn a pathos for blood and valor. So D68. It's daring, so another D4, I guess, from Senanos. Yeah. And I guess I want to use that D10, really.
The D10 that you had as an advantage dice, indeed so.
Yeah.
Not tempted to burn ferocity then?
Yeah, I am tempted to burn ferocity, for sure.
Okay. So that is 3d6, a d8, a d10, and 2 d4s.
Yes. Is the D10 the one at the bottom?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I know that the one with a 2 on is a 12. The one with a 9 on is a 10.
Ah, I see. Okay. So let's hope I beat this. I do.
Oh, wow. By 1, 20.
Yeah, by 1.
So what we have then is the winner of the seas gets to describe what happens. So how is this entire situation resolved? We know that Iamon has protected the warbands successfully. Blackwyn gets to describe how this finale is resolved.
Well, I think it's like I say, and with the whole, there's a break in the fighting, and I think, but as I'm fighting Gwent, who just yells and charges at me, ignoring my words. We can hear Cuxsusia's, like the word describing it, and it's happening. Like he's falling over. But he keeps coming back up for more. And Blackwyn, like finally, like just grabs his axe with his silver hand and rips it out, and then bashes him to the ground. He's standing above him, and you can hear Cuxsusia saying, "And Gwent dies." And Blackwyn then throws his axe on the ground. And then does the whole, let's spit in the eye in the face of death, no more.
And rippling out from that, gradually the fighting that has taken place has subsided. And I think now, in terms of the battle, there are outcomes here. So the greatest success on the defend was Iamon. So Iamon gets 19 glory. Blackwyn resolved the finale. They get 19 glory. Neither of the other 2 characters succeeded, but they get 1 glory each for having taken part. They didn't prevail, they failed. So they get 1 glory. And I think, let me see. So the heroes win the finale. The opponent is the victor. The heroes lose the finale, doesn't apply. The heroes win the finale but lose the seas, doesn't apply. The heroes win the finale and win the seas. So you did both of those things. Strife is overcome and the island's destiny is bright. The heroes win the day and their opponent suffers the fate the heroes chose for them. So the fate the heroes, I think, chose for them, if we look at the narrative as a flow, is that these two kingdoms are united in a wedding between Ellis and Gwyn. And hatchets are buried left, right, and center. And I think our closing scene of that is we see them binding themselves in marriage. We see the warbands celebrating together. And then we see you and your warband heading off into the mists. And as you head off into the mists, you notice the ravens approaching you. And they form a woman. It is the priestess who killed the king. And she appears before you, Blacwyn, as you won that finale. You got to describe what went on. And then some of the ravens disappear, and her with it. And laid on the ground before you is a cloak of raven feathers. So as the ultimate victor, Blacwyn can add to the bit of his character sheet that is labeled Great Deeds and Trophies. You can add the Morrigan's raven feather cloak. Yeah. I knew the timing was going to be tricky for this. I was hoping that we would get the journey to the next place done now. I think we'll have to do the journey to the next place at the start of next time. So I think that is where we finish. I think that ties up the immediate aftermath. I would like a quick canter of stars and wishes, please, if that's okay. Let me start, Ferret, at your end. Sawyer, do you have any stars?
Yes, I love these characters. This feels like Exalted from White Wolf, only not it's as overpowered, but not nearly as power gamey. It's really interesting. And like fight ravens with doves, duel someone down to a marriage. It's just beautiful, and I like Blackwyn's just straightforwardness of everything. Iamon feels like he has history, even though I don't need like the appendix to get it, and I really enjoy that. And Cuxsusia is the scald I needed. This is lovely, and so, yeah, thank you for all of this.
Okay, moving along, Keith, any stars?
Probably, but I can't think of them. I'm left with a very bad feeling at the end of it, as Will noted. Like, I very clearly played horribly. I didn't get double glory into double digits even at all, which it's hard to say why, if I just rolled poorly or if I chose poorly. But it's very clearly like you did badly and you should feel bad, and good job game. I do feel badly. Yeah, it's really hard to have anything other than that emotional reaction.
I think in terms of wishes, what I would say to you is the more contests you create, the more risk you take, but the more opportunity you have for that glory. Because I'm thinking that Sabine set up that attempt to convince the king and the queen and to get to them. So I guess it is about trying to get on the front foot if you can, in terms of taking the narrative by the scruff of the... if it's any consolation, I left my first game of AGON with 3 glory. So, it's not much of a consolation, but I hope it's one. And I think I ended the series on, oh no, David beat me. I was almost at the top of the glory tree. I was badly scarred, but so no, I take your points on that. Sabine, any stars?
I just want to say, to your point, it was hard to tell when I was going to say something that would get me into a challenge. In the tent, I was like, okay, here I go into the challenge. And then it was kind of like, no, they don't want to do that. Okay. I was trying to get to the glory, but I didn't know how to. And then I saw the possible for the 23, and I threw everything at it. And I don't know if that just wrecked every chance from there on. But
it is a tricky game to judge when to spend the resource you've got. I think that's undoubtedly the case. It will, again, if it's any consolation, get easier to see. It took us quite a couple of sessions to get in the groove. Sabine, any stars?
Well, yeah, I kind of like the game, but I do not enjoy the whole, yeah, now I've got more glory than X and I've got less glory. I don't like that kind of competitiveness because it brings out the baddest vibes in myself, because I tend to get very competitive, and then if I don't make it, then I get I get a bad feeling, and that's not something I actually enjoy. I mean, I was lucky, but that could have gone the other way. So, but what I liked was the characters, and what I liked was the challenge that we faced with the whole situation. That was nice, and seeing the two Vecinda and Cuxsusia, they are really fab characters. So, yeah.
Thank you. And finally, Will.
Yeah, well, I agree. I loved all the characters. I love Cuxusia's like bloodthirst and dedication to the Morrigan, and I love that whole imagery of you know, like telling the story of that battle as it happened. I thought that makes like a really, whatever's going on in the actual battle just becomes even more dramatic with that like going on in the cinematic cut. And I love Vecinda's little like family analogies, the shield wall and the warriors and standing together. That was great. And Iamon's camaraderie, and I feel like stepping into that whole kind of leading the the troops kind of role. I really enjoy the atmosphere of it all. I kind of enjoy the little competitiveness in that sense of like we're all trying not to beat each other, but to like be the glorious hero kind of. That's maybe tied to that sort of like Greek kind of mythology of great deeds and huge warriors.
Yeah, in this time it should be called reputation rather than glory. Really, I just couldn't fit it in the space.
But it is. I can see, like there was that part where I was looking at the thing. I was like, oh yeah, like I would rather. Yeah, exactly. I got 38 at the end of that because I won that one, right? But again, yeah, I'm interested in it for sure. Wishes wise, monsters, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
See if I can come up with a monster for you. And then going back then for monsters, for wishes, sorry, Sabine, any wishes for next time?
I mean, I like monsters, yes. Yeah, and I would hope for better dice rolls especially for Keith, because I want him to feel better about the whole thing. And I also would like to know, and I don't know if that's a wish or a star, what do I do with all this glory? I mean, you said
okay,
kind of XP, so.
Yeah, so there are thresholds for glory. I can't off the top of my head remember what they are, but I think if you get to 50, I think that your name dice becomes a D8. It should automatically change. It's either 50 or 100. And then when it goes up again, it becomes a D10 and ultimately a D12. So as your glory increases, the power of your name increases. And the other bits of progression, you'll see down at the bottom of the sheet, there are a variety of boons. We'll deal with some of that mechanic before, on the journey between here and there. But also, can you see that there are certain cells on the fate? When you get as far as agony, fate begins to fill up and it doesn't go away. But can you see there are 3 highlighted boxes down there? Each one of those, you would get a boon. And boons increase the value of certain aspects or whatever else. Okay. Keith, wishes. I've got a fair idea, but
I don't actually know, because I feel like the story went well and it was cool and very epic, and it was definitely the tone I was looking for, and I liked the things that I was trying, but she just came across sort of as incompetent. I feel like this game had more of a pass-fail mechanic that I'm used to, rather than like, you didn't make the roll, but still this thing happens. It was just kind of like, well, your story sucked, and that you failed at that, and like, why did the gods choose you again? You haven't done anything worthwhile. You got some secondhand glory, but like, I don't know what I would say you should do different, other than like, hey, dice, be nicer.
One of the things that we did talk about when we played, and I might think about this, is that the contribution of burning a bond in order to give somebody else your name die in the rules earns you 1 glory. which just seems very little indeed. And so we did talk about whether we'd house rule that. And I have to say, now that I've played it again, I'm thinking about that, because I think that there ought to be more incentive for that cooperation than one glory. Yeah. So I will give that some thought. Finally, Sawyer, any wishes?
I really like. I agree with monsters, but I also sort of agree. Like, it feels more competitive than I'm used to, and like Keith was saying, I'm used to PBTAs. Like, even on like a middling kind of thing, there's brackets of success and failure versus things like that. And like, I think due to PBTA, I'm okay with failing or not having like the top, but even then, I'm still in double digits versus 8. So, not sure how much that is.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, undoubtedly, this is a game in which you want to beat the challenge, but there are advantages if you beat it best. And I think that is, perhaps it is that heroic kind of who will be the greatest hero, I guess, is what the game's kind of built on. Okay, folks, thank you. I'm going to end the recording there. Stop recording.